There's all sorts of ways to dry, but this is what I do. Piece of fabric, about this size, all right, 4 inches by 8 inches. All right, again, the worm, I go to one of the ends rather than the middle, because I want to use this same piece of fabric.
Keep rewrapping it, don't you?
Yeah, I want to use it multiple times.
You just
So
learned that over doing it,
I'll get this side filthy black, then I take it off and I'll flip it around and use the same piece of fabric, but trying to use the inside of it now. And thread this onto the bench rod. And you're trying to dry it out.
10, 30 seconds, yeah. I got all these multiple male-female things from Joe Gothier's era.
Right,
They're like
his
three of them
original
on
list.
there, and it's
His original list came from the Track of the Wolf. He asked them to prepare a list. And what they did was they tried to go through their catalog and make sure we give them one of everything. So they had every size.
I don't use half of them.
Exactly. So pick your size and make sure everything you buy is that size. Okay, at this point, your pipe cleaner is going to be black, filthy black. Okay, one of I've done, I usually do 3 cycles of the boiling water down the pipe, let it sit there. It doesn't always sit there for 15, 20 minutes. You know, the next one might only be a few minutes. The final one will be without the pipe cleaner in there. Then I pour a larger volume. I'll go out into the yard. I'm not doing this in the inside the garage, and I'll pour another batch of boiling water down and let it just pee its way out of the touch hole.
Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah.
So you get a whole pipe load of water that's gone down. Now you're cleaning out your touch hole.
Now you get the other. Now you get some of the. Yeah.
Right?
I didn't think of that. Okay.
That's another way of cleaning it. After all the water has been done, then you're drying it out. Right? A piece of cloth. Don't. You might say, oh, that's too big, that's going to get jammed in there. Well, no, it's not.
And then do you do the turn? I turn it and stuff because I get this
Well,
image of
I
like
do it multiple
I get this image
times.
like I have to like turn it.
Right.
And then I'm like, but you got to make sure you don't turn the other way because you'll unscrew the worm.
Yes, you don't. Things that can happen is
It does loosen when it's in there.
the
Be careful.
cloth can come off inside the barrel, or the worm can come off the rod inside the barrel. These are going to be problems now. You're going to have to get it out somehow. But these are things you have to keep in mind.
How do you get it out if it's stuck in there? Because remember what Don Custer did with us at the firing range? Remember he had
Well,
the air
if-
gun? He had the air.
Right. If the cloth came off this, then I just go back down and try to
catch it again.
re-grab it and pull it out that way.
Have you guys had that yet? Get stuck in there?
If
Anybody
the
get-
tool comes apart, that's going to be a different issue.
I haven't had that yet.
No,
But the day
That's
with
something
Dawn
you
with the
don't
ball
want.
getting stuck in there
you don't want
was a potential nightmare. I'm like, oh God, how do you get it out now? The
Okay.
ball.
part. This is the key to my method. I'm going to sound like I'm trying to sell you this, but I really am a believer.
He sells all this for $14.95.
No,
They're all in the trunk of his
I
car.
don't.
On the
I
way
have
out,
no
we can buy
connection
everything.
whatsoever.
No,
If you order today, 2 for 1.
Frog lube.
That's it. I keep forgetting the name Frog because you like to keep it
Since you
clean.
said
and...
it, said it
Anyway,
farting
yeah,
knives, right?
good. I haven't bought it
Frog
yet.
lube. This is a new product. This guy was a Navy SEAL. He came up with the formulation and he sold it to the U.S. military. So apparently it's being used big time in the U.S. military.
And you're doing that to clean the outside, right?
No.
no.
Well, this is my lubricant. I use this
Oh, that's the
anytime I
lube,
want to
okay.
lubricate.
Frog.
But back to why do I use boiling hot water down the barrel and not soap and not the windshield fluid. I'm not using anything but boiling water. Does anybody cook with cast iron?
Yep.
Cast iron pans? And the whole concept of you've got to season that pan, right? That you do it with a little bit of oil. Then when you cook, you're building up a non-stick surface. And you will never wash your cast iron pan in soap, will you?
That's right. Scraper.
You don't dare do that because you're going to remove your seasoning.
Only one.
So what I'm doing with this method is similar to a cast iron pan, I am seasoning the inside of the barrel. And I think I have proven it, at least I've proven it to myself, that after shooting 25 live rounds through there without really much of a clog, that this really does work.
Can you pick that up at any gun shop?
I know that a lot of gun shops do sell it.
What's it called, frog?
Frog lube.
Frog, and you put it, how do you, oh, sorry, go ahead, how do you,
Okay.
it shows how you do it, how do you do
For
it?
inside the barrel now.
I thought you used it to clean the outside.
Now, understand, when I buy brushes and when I buy mops and when I buy a lot of these accessories, I don't order one. You know, you buy like 10 of them, send me 10. When I buy flints, which everybody should do, you buy 10, 12 flints, and you should have that. Those are part of your kit. That's just another thing that you're going to use a lot of.
Do the flints, can you get those on track of the Wolf?
Yeah, buy,
Jim, 12-pack right there, I just got in the mail last week.
right, buy
You look
12
at
at a
it.
time.
12 of them for like, I don't know, 18 bucks or something.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How
long was a flint last you?
Go check it out, 1 inch.
Well,
by-
that depends.
Maybe an inch by
We'll
an inch
get
and
into
an eighth or
that.
something. I can
Let's
send you.
stay on track here. So what I'm doing is I take a mop, put the mop on the end.
Yeah, the mop and the frog.
Well, actually, before I put it on the end, I just roll it around in the frog lube.
Yeah.
And I get it all soaked
Froggy.
with frog. Yeah, it gets all froggy. And then I put it on, and I'm pushing it, trying to get it down there. What you don't want is to lose all of your frog lube on the first 10 inches of barrel. You're hoping to somehow manage to coat everything, and especially down at this end. So I'm looking for evidence of frog lube coming out of the touch hole.
So many jokes I could make.
Please,
I'm
please.
having trouble just holding them all in.
Oh, no, this is a family recording here.
So we are hoping to satisfy our own knowledge, or our own selves, with the knowledge that we have frog lube coated down here. You'll have a bunch of the glob pouring over the top of the barrel, but you go to quite an excess. You really don't want to be skimpy with it.
You can put it on the tip of it, you can even put, on the tip of
Okay.
it, you can even put.
So literally, what I do is I wipe it off the top, put the lock back on after I've scrubbed it with a brush. Really, that's all you're going to do unless you see evidence of rust, in which case I have taken the lock apart, and I'll use a Dremel tool. I'll go crazy sometimes. I'll use polishing accessories on a Dremel tool to get.
The Dremel will actually then eat, you actually shave down the rust, get the steel again, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
If you read anything in gunsmithing books, they tell you don't dare pick up a Dremel tool, because what you're going to do is you're going to start changing thicknesses and whatnot. So you have to be, all I'm using are the polishing accessories. I'm not using any grinding tools.
Have you ever heard about using a copper penny?
No.
Okay, I looked at that online, whatever.
Okay.
No, I don't even know if it did anything.
Literally, so I have globbed
That
frog
in there.
lube down the barrel. Put the lock back on, and now I put it away. That's
Really, so you leave the way the mop left it all?
I leave it globbed inside there.
Huh.
Now, the problem is, we have a shoot tomorrow. We have to go out and make these things work. But I've just globbed it. Usually it's not we have a shoot tomorrow, but next week.
Well, yeah, exactly, a week or two later. And you keep it in there that whole time?
I don't touch it.
You don't touch it until the night before, or the
Right.
morning of?
Can I ask one question before you get to that next day of kind of component? When I clean mine, I've done the water and I do the windshield wash and all that kind of stuff, but I leave it apart. The lock off it because I want, if any water has gotten into
I
it,
like that
I
idea.
leave it apart for at least a day. if
I
not 2
like that
days.
idea. No,
So the wood dries
Right.
out thoroughly.
I have done the same thing myself. Yeah, I would not argue with that.
Yeah.
No,
I just want everything
that's not a
addressed,
bad
so I leave
idea.
it separate for at least a day, if not 2.
Right,
We can.
but my point is, once I've applied the frog lube inside the barrel, that's it. I'm done with inside the barrel at least. I might then do some polishing outside. I might try to clean up the wood somehow or another.
So that's interesting, so you don't, this whole thing Jack was talking about that I do, maybe you do as well, taking the round pads, putting them over the copper one, going up and down a million times, going up and down a ton of times to
Well,
get all
you-
that dirt out of it, to get all that
Well, no,
rusty.
when I go to get to the cloth,
You've already done,
I am now I'm using the cloth to dry it.
and you've now exhausted that, you've done a few cloth pieces probably.
Right,
You've
I'm
gradually-
satisfied
okay.
that it's clean.
I got you, then that's the process
And
I'm
the
doing with
cloth
the, with
is
the
to
brass
dry it.
thing and the
Get
pieces,
everything
the
dry.
patches, okay. Gotcha, you don't use
So that-
patches, you're using the cloth.
Well, I have used patches, but I'm not getting enough friction.
Yeah.
Even the largest patch, there's hardly
And
any
you've gotta
friction.
change them all the time.
Right,
Even I turn them
it's-
around
it's
and
like
put them on
Patch
again.
around- I put the patch around.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is worn down and narrow now, so
Yeah.
I'll put a patch around
You
it.
can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied
What do
that
you
it's.
go up and down?
it's-
Up and down, dry
And
it
you'll
out.
go through what, 20 patches, right? You know, 15,
So,
only two, because I'm doing like, until I try to get that thing almost clean, white.
That's your 100% of issues you have to deal with.
Yeah, it's my
So
OCD.
now we have-
My OCD or something, right?
a shoot coming up next week. But I just frog looped the hell out of this last week. So, you have to be thinking of what your itinerary is, and you gotta make sure you're arriving with a dry barrel. So I have to go, now I have another step pre-muster. And I'll do in the garage, I'll get a cloth out. Because I did this once on site and Jack went crazy. What the hell? Because I pulled my ramrod out and he didn't, we'll talk about it later. You don't want to be using your ramrod, basically. It's kind of suggestive of putting a live round. When the ramrod is now being used with a musket, it almost implies that you are loading the musket with a ball. So we don't want to be pulling the ramrod out. And while I was doing that with the intention of drying and getting all the goop out, it's putting a different spin for those that might be watching. So,
Didn't even think of that.
right, with the worm and the new piece of cloth, I want to go up and down again and make sure it's coming out. You're looking at the cloth. Am I satisfied? It's going to have some crud to it. You say, geez, I thought it was perfectly clean the last time. But it won't be. You'll still get, after a week, you'll end up with some more crud on there.
And when you pull that thing out of there now, is it still green and kind of wet? Or
No.
is it, so
No, it's actually,
so the stuff dries up.
I think it evaporates away. There might be a little bit of moisture
Interesting.
if it's within days after I've
But you're not
done it.
gonna pull it, I would might think,
No,
when they're all
it-
green and gunky, I might
No.
think 3 weeks later, you're now pulling it out all kind of green
No,
and gunky. No, so
no,
kind of, that's
surprisingly
what protects it then.
Right.
I guess that's what melts into the,
Right.
or puts
So
like into
after-
the cast iron.
After multiple cleaning cycles using this, you are building up a seasoned barrel. And you're still gonna get the crud, it's still gonna be in there, but that's why I think when I dump it out, I'm shocked at how much comes out with just the brush, because it, in fact, did coagulate in there, but it really took minimal effort to get it to loosen up and spill out. So that is my personal technique. I know I've talked to people that say, oh, I use nothing but Hoppy's number 9. And I use, you know, everybody has their own preference, and there's going to be no changing minds with a lot of the products that get used, and that, I'm okay with that. But this is the way I've been doing it. Another thing that I use here, isopropyl alcohol. I get real fussy because I already had to have my frizzen re-hardened once. These Middlesex muskets, as advertised, are really manufactured to be hung on the wall. They don't have a touch hole on them. They are put together in a fashion that allows them to be fired, ultimately. But they're not, there's no certification process. I'm wondering if even Pedersoli does, are there proofing marks on Pedersoli? Generally, if
What's a proofing mark, Ed?
a proof,
Tell me what that is.
yeah, generally if a barrel has been certified and
Tested
proofed,
or something. I
tested,
get you. Yeah.
there's a marking that gets applied to the barrel. I don't know if, I've never really looked for one. And it's very possible that it would be in a hidden spot.
Yes.
So, but Pedersolis are manufactured to be firearms. These really aren't, there's all kinds of proofing marks on that, believe it or not, even though it didn't ultimately fail.
On the Belgian one, right?
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
you can see
that's a legit
signs.
real musket, that's,
Right.
you know, yeah. Whereas
Right.
these are not, I mean, these are, but these are, like you, yeah.
Right.
Didn't our guy make the holes in them for us? Didn't
Yeah.
he make the,
So, back to the frizzen, I had problems getting a spark. And this ended up being re-hardened. Peter Plunkett, Middlesex, did it for no charge, no charge whatsoever. But I became overly cognizant of the fact that the process of putting carbon into steel is something that is not forever. You know, there's a process of heating it up till it's glowing red, and then you dunk it into this, or you apply this powder that is heavily laden with carbon. You heat it back up, then you quench it in water. And that's how they force carbon into steel. But that's a process that's not forever.
really, so even the Pedersoli,
Right.
Brad will not, maybe at some point will need hardening.
It will be worn away
Hmm.
after a time, after a fashion. So the more you fire, the more you're wearing away your hardness to the frizzen. But I'm sensitive to the fact that even oils from the fingers and whatnot could impact the next time I'm looking for a spark. So that's why this frizzen guard is always on, hammer stall. This is why I don't deliberately touch the face of the frizzen. And I try to keep it clean, and a good way to do so, because you'll get carbon, or you'll get fouling from your black powder. Best way to clean it, cotton swab, isopropyl alcohol.
I even read, and I do this too, and I bring a little bottle with me when we go shoot and stuff, Bob. I got alcohol, and they even said, I read, the flint. They said wipe off the flint
Oh, yeah.
too.
Oh, you'll
Which
find-
I thought, wow, it's,
You'll find after,
The pan,
Right.
the alcohol.
after the first time that you fire, just do it. Wipe underneath the flint and look at your finger and how filthy.
I'm trying not to cut it while you're doing it, right? You're trying to cut
Right,
yourself either.
right. If it's a brand new flint, very true. Those are gonna be extremely
Mr.
short.
Mr. Cunningham, didn't he do
Right.
that,
Right.
poor guy?
Um,
Never got my handkerchief back.
So, let's see, flints.
I don't want it back.
This,
Yeah.
the question was, how long does a flint last? Well, that really depends on hundreds of factors. I remember Brian Thompson, who we haven't seen in a long time, old Middlesex guy. Do you know Brian? Have you
He's
ever
not Old
seen-
Middlesex anymore.
Huh?
He's not Old Middlesex anymore.
Brian Thompson.
He transferred to Essex.
Oh, he
Old-
did?
To Old Essex.
Oh, I'll be darned, I didn't know that.
Nice, he's still in though, I guess.
He's still
Yeah.
there.
He told me that he never had changed his flint, in like 5 years.
Wow.
And I thought, seriously? And I imagine that if you're only doing color guard events and it's like 3 fire, shoot 3 today and then 2 weeks later you shoot 3 times, I suppose that.
I've had to change mine a lot.
Oh,
Just the
I
color
changed
guard.
mine on a suspicion that it might not work.
OCD,
Right.
there you go. Yeah.
Aren't some harder
Really?
than others?
Huh?
Aren't some flints harder than others? Aren't they?
I don't know if they are harder, but if a flint fractures, which is not uncommon, I mean, they're napped by hand,
Check 'em
and
out.
there's
They gotta be
veins
cool. Check
in
'em
there
out.
and so forth. I imagine some particular individual pieces might be harder than its neighbor, its next one. I don't know that any particular,
I mean, it is just a rock, right? It's a natural.
Right,
they
it's natural.
They dig it out of the ground and they try to shape them the best they can, right?
but I've had them break.
Yep, me too.
It's a perfectly good flint, but the corner broke off. Just because I'm suspicious now, I'm gonna throw that out. But that flint would probably work for
Definitely
quite a
does.
while.
I've got mine, and
Right.
it has worked, it broke, and we did like 4 more shots, and it,
Right.
it's
It depends on how fussy you are.
My flint's broke.
And I prefer that, you can see, this is not gonna, you're not gonna cut yourself on this flint. On a brand spanking new, you pull a flint out of that bag, there's gonna be one in there that will,
Razor sharp.
yeah,
sometimes,
it's like
yeah.
a razor. You will cut yourself. In fact, we see it all the time. Color guard inspection. Poise your firelock, and the commander comes down the line checking individual flintlocks. If he handles that flint on every musket, which he's supposed to do, you're supposed to verify that that flint is not moving about. If he does do that on every musket going down the line, it's likely that he's gonna be bleeding before he gets to the end. Because, I mean, they're sharp.
I know that I got the same one.
So how long do they last?
Yeah.
I think I've had, maybe the maximum would be the day I shot 25 rounds without a misfire, for sure. There's 25.
What have you read, Jim, online about how long a flint will last? Have you read any? I mean, I think I've read 75 to 100 rounds. They can be good for up to 75 to 100, unless, I think that was the number. Does that sound right?
That's quite,
Unless they chip
quite
and-
possible.
I used this
Yeah.
one for 2 years and never.
And you shot it,
I've
12,
only, I had to
15.
tweak it
Yeah.
and turn it a little bit because the bottom corner broke off, so I
Yep.
just had to loosen it up, turn it a little bit and square it back up.
The point that I would make about flints is they're cheap. You're talking,
that might have been $12 for 12 of them, I don't know, $18.
you're
I don't know.
talking maybe $2.20, if you buy one at a time, $2.25, Now, you're gonna be buying this stuff mail order, so you're paying for shipping. So why would you buy one? You're gonna pay $6 in shipping for a 220. That's why you buy a lot of them, they're cheap.
Yeah.
And if you have any, somebody at a muster says, I don't know if I'm getting a good spark or not. Well, don't even ask. You just change your flint first and then see what happens. They're very cheap. Don't let your day be ruined by the fact that you're trying to save $2.25.
Or you think it's gonna last forever, yeah.
Right, because they don't last forever, and it is one of the key reasons why you have a misfire. There can be multiple reasons why you can have a misfire. The angle of the flint within the lock, you know, it's not hitting in the right spot. And that could be because the whole lock is not seated right. There could be other reasons. But the number one culprit should be the flint. Until you're satisfied that you have a good flint, and it's got to be something else, I would always assume flint first.
And the one thing I was curious when I started putting the flint in is, was it flat side up or flat side down?
Well,
And that was its preference. That's
it
what
is
I
a
said.
preference.
Yeah.
Some people tell you that you never put it in upside down. Well, that's not true, because sometimes the strike is better. And it could be because of that particular flint. Sometimes the flint is actually striking your frizzen
Yeah, I'm just gonna say.
better if it's in upside down. So there is no rule about that whatsoever.
So this is the flat side.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the curved side.
Yeah.
So that's why I say the flat side down or flat side up. So that way that curve is either on the bottom or on the top.
Right.
And they said it's how you want it to strike. It's your
I
preference.
think it looks correct when it's
Flat
that
side
way.
down.
Flat side down.
Like
Right,
this, so the curve is up.
correct.
Right. Yeah, the
It
curve
looks,
down.
that's the way it looks right. But that doesn't mean in all situations that is right. Because if your lock isn't seated precisely, and with these Middlesex muskets, that does occur, if things aren't all seated right, it could be that the thing that will make everything work is flipping the flint upside down. And that, I have, in fact, shot with an upside down flint and everything works fine.
When you buy the flint, does it come with the leather?
No,
You have to buy that separate?
no, and if you buy gun leather or whatever they say, you'll pay $6 or something. And that's stupid. What I do is I go to Michael's, the arts and crafts guy, and even they are selling it for a lot. I mean, there's gotta be even a better way than this, but I have gone there and you buy off a peg hook a piece of leather that might be like 8 by 10 for $6. And it's the
You'll have the rest of your life then, yeah.
yeah, the thickness of the leather is what matters. You don't want a big thick piece of leather. You want something foldable and something that you can cut. So you make a square a little bit bigger than the flint itself. And I have adopted using a hole punch, and you fold it in half and use a hole punch on the end.
For the
Because
screw.
that's the way they're selling, if you go to a gun
Right,
place,
right.
they're selling them that way. And what that allows
The
is,
screw doesn't.
right, you get to force your flint back against the screw.
Yes, without, and getting maximum.
Right.
For example, Brad, when you got your Pedisoli, mine came with a piece of lead around the
Right.
flint.
That's what I have on mine.
Yeah, lead is common, a common.
I had some lead flashing. I
Right.
hammered it down and thinned it out.
Right. Another thing you should always have is, in your cleaning kit, is a rag. And this is another product that I
That's the one with
rave
flits,
about,
that's it, yeah,
flits. I have it on the, there's a handout if everybody hasn't gotten it,
Yeah, I'll tell you.
with links on here. The flits is, I find it
buddy.
to be
Thank you, sir.
pretty miraculous for cleaning rust, for making things shine that previously were not shining. It's good for all of the bright work on the musket. I use this as well. You apply it, let it sit for a minute, and then you just buff it, and it's a great metal cleaner. It's not, you know, again, I don't own the company.
Bob, will that also help with this stuff, the hand, some might call it patina after a while.
Yeah.
It's only a few years old, but will that get rid of this too?
I probably
Because
will.
it's in a bit rusted here with the hand sweat
try
and
it.
stuff. That's why I got the
Try it
idea.
right now.
That's why I got the idea online about the,
Go ahead.
What's that called?
about the penny.
Flitz.
Flitz, yeah.
Flitz. I buy it on Amazon.
I don't wanna-
Amazon has the best price. In fact, I buy the frog lube, I think, on
Oh,
Amazon.
it's on there, okay, yep, I got one there.
Amazon sells
Oh, I'm
both,
good, I'm good, I'm good.
and it's quite affordable that way. Let me think. Is there any other maintenance matters? Any questions about maintenance? Until you've really gone.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah, until you get out there and you run into a problem, you won't necessarily.
So using straight water, you're not leaving a residue, so that would, the residue is probably what causes the fouling, increases the fouling.
I just have come around to this process, and I know that it works, and that's gonna be the way I do it.
I'm gonna do that from now on.
Right. I know Larry Leonard, when he trained us, he said, no, you use soapy water. Well, I suppose soapy water might work on the fouling inside, but I'm working with an end goal of keeping the seasoning intact. That is,
I agree with the same thing, and that's why I like the windshield wash
right,
for me mentally, and I think it
Right.
just makes sense.
and I did do it that way.
Yeah, and I just use the boiling water, I do it probably 5-6 times
Yeah,
with the boiling water, and then I do it a couple times with the windshield wash, and then I just set it aside.
The last time I,
Let it dry out.
the last time I took it to the range, I had a lot of fouling, had a lot of problems. So, and I was using, I think I was using, saw it 2 years ago. I used the soap and water. So I think I will, next time,
I've
I'll switch
never,
over to plain water.
it's worth trying.
I
Oh, yeah.
knock on wood, the only time I've ever had a problem misfiring was when the flint got turned.
Oh, it wasn't misfiring, I've been shooting musket balls with it, and it was having a hard time.
Oh,
Seeing the ball
okay,
down.
yep.
Right.
I've never shot.
Really,
a projectile.
it's incredible how gunked up the musket will get. And it becomes dangerous if your musket ball that you've put powder in that has made it all the way to the breech. But your musket ball can only get to here.